The world watches with bated breath, numbed. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine rages on. It is a tragedy unfolding on a massive scale. The United States faces a critical decision. Should we intervene militarily? This is not a decision to be made lightly, as the stakes are higher than ever before. The potential consequences are too grave to ignore. This conflict is a powder keg. The world, a tinderbox. One wrong move could ignite global devastation. We must proceed with caution. We must prioritize peace. The future of humanity may depend on it. The prospect of direct conflict between the US and Russia is terrifying. These are nuclear superpowers, sir. A war between them would have unimaginable consequences, and it is a nightmare scenario that we must avoid at all costs. Military intervention by the US could be disastrous. It could escalate the conflict to a global scale. Imagine a world engulfed in flames, a world where cities lie in ruins, a world where millions perish. This is not hyperbole. This is a real possibility if we choose the path of war. The involvement of other nations further complicates the situation. North Korean soldiers are now fighting alongside Russian forces. Iranian and Chinese weapons are being used in the conflict. This is a dangerous entanglement of alliances. It could easily spiral out of control. A recent Ipsos poll paints a grim picture. 63% of people worldwide believe World War III is possible. 72% are concerned about nuclear, biological, or chemical attacks. 80% believe the world is becoming more dangerous. These numbers are a stark reminder of the fear and uncertainty gripping our planet. We cannot ignore these warning signs. We cannot afford to make a mistake. The consequences are simply too high. The threat of nuclear war is not a relic of the past. It is a clear and present danger. The US and Russia possess thousands of nuclear weapons. These weapons have the power to obliterate entire cities in an instant. Their use would have catastrophic consequences for humanity and the planet. The very air we breathe would become toxic. Radiation would spread across continents, poisoning the land and water. Millions would die instantly. Countless others would suffer slow and agonizing deaths from radiation sickness. The survivors would face a bleak and uncertain future. Experts agree the risk of nuclear war is higher now than it has been in decades. The Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists has set the doomsday clock at 90 seconds to midnight. This is the closest it has ever been to midnight, which represents global catastrophe. We are teetering on the brink of oblivion. We must wake up to this danger. We must demand that our leaders pursue peace, not war. The survival of our species may depend on it. Section 4. Echoes of a Forgotten Crisis. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 offers a chilling parallel to the current situation. The United States condemned the Soviet Union for placing nuclear missiles in Cuba, considering it a direct threat to national security. However, the United States had already deployed its own missiles in Turkey and Italy, a fact that is often overlooked. This double standard exposes a dangerous hypocrisy in US foreign policy. Critics argue that the US response to Russia's actions in Ukraine is similarly hypocritical. We condemn Russia for invading a sovereign nation while conveniently forgetting our own history of military interventions. This inconsistency undermines our moral authority on the world stage. It makes it difficult to rally international support for our position. The lessons of the Cuban Missile Crisis are clear. We must avoid escalating tensions. We must pursue diplomacy and dialogue. We must remember that two wrongs don't make a right. Section 5. The Price of Intervention. Beyond the immediate risks of war, US military intervention in Ukraine carries significant economic and humanitarian costs. Increased military spending would divert resources from vital domestic programs. Sanctions against Russia would disrupt global trade, leading to higher prices and economic hardship for all. The humanitarian crisis in Ukraine is already dire. Millions have been displaced from their homes. Thousands have been killed or injured. Further escalation would only exacerbate this suffering. It would create a humanitarian catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. We must consider the long-term consequences of our actions. Military intervention might seem like a quick solution, but it would likely have far-reaching and devastating repercussions. We must choose a different path. We must choose peace. Section 6. The path to peace. The path to peace is through diplomacy and de-escalation. We must engage in dialogue with Russia, no matter how difficult it may seem. We must seek common ground and work towards a negotiated settlement. This will not be easy. It will require patience, compromise, and a willingness to see the world from different perspectives. But it is the only way to avert a global catastrophe. The world is watching. The future is in our hands. Let us choose wisely. Let us choose peace.